My name is Dr. Jacob Gusha. I am an animal scientist by profession. We are here at Mr. Zisengwe farm, operating as Majoro at Munaku farm. So we are here to discuss beef production, one of the most important options, which is pen fattening. So we want to try and look at pen fattening, what it is and how it is supposed to be done. Kurima mombe, kurima mari. We want to try and make sure that we encourage every farmer around Zimbabwe to look at pen fattening as a very important production option. It doesn't suddenly need a lot of land. What you only need is to be able to raise enough capital to buy animals at different age groups, take them through the process of pen fattening, which may take up to 3 months or less. What is pen fattening? Pen fattening is about polishing up your animal in order to fetch the best grades on the market. So it's about, in Shona would call kukwenenjera. So before marketing your animal, you need to make sure that your animal is in the right shape, in the right form, producing the best quality beef that can actually attract every customer. So that's what we call pen fattening. So pen fattening, it's actually putting more energy, an energy diet that improves 3 important aspects. 1, the grade that the animal is going to fetch on the market. 2, it gives an animal an extra kgs that enables you to fetch good profits in terms of the amount of kgs that you are going to get out of that animal. Thirdly, you can also be able to make sure that your animal is going to produce the best quality beef with adequate fat on it, with adequate carcass yield. So it's about trying to make sure that you polish your animal to be able to be attractive and fetch the best grade on the market. In terms of beef production, when farmers sell their animals, they are going to be graded into 5 beef grades. That is being super, choice, commercial, economy and manufacturer. So you'd find out that as your animals becomes older, they are now getting into the lower grades of beef quality. If you would want to make money, one is to make sure that you market your animals before they reach more than 3.5 years old. The moment they get to 4 years old, you are already being substituted from getting the best quality beef, which is the super and choice. Your animals now remain in commercial and the other lower grades. There are a number of factors that determines your profitability in pen fattening. The first one being the age and the size of animal. So in the age and size, we mean you need to make sure that you get an animal that is between 1.5 to about 3.5 years old. Those animals could actually be able to, they respond well to high energy diet. They tend to adapt to pen fattening. Then you also make sure that when you are getting your animals, they need to be in the range. For example, steers, they should be within the range of around 260 to 360 kgs, which means an average of 300 kgs should be a good steer to put for pen fattening. Then you also need to make sure that if they are heifers, slightly on the lower side, 230 to about 300 kgs, it also gives us a good an animal for fattening. Though some policies, they tend to restrict pen fattening of heifers because they are meant for breeding. The second important factor is the breed. You need to make sure that you get the best breed that adapts to pen fattening. Sometimes if you get a shona, it may not be able to do well in pen fattening. It may fail to adapt. So you have to make sure that if you are going to use pen fattening where you are going to be using a high energy diet, you need the British breeds, the continental breed. Some of them, we call them the post-Taurus breeds. Those huge ones, the Charolais, the Limousin, the Beefmaster, the Angus, those they do well. But if you are going to get our Zeb breeds, the Brahmin, yes, they do well, but you need to make sure that you adapt them well to high concentrate diets which are high in energy. If you don't do that, you may not be able, you are likely to get a lot of what we call metabolic diseases, acidosis, ruminitis, and laminitis. Those are the challenges that you may end up actually facing if you don't get the best breed, or if you don't get a breed that adapts to pen fattening. Yeah, let us talk about feedlot management. You would find out that before you start actually putting your animal there, I have mentioned 3 important factors that helps you to choose the animals, which is this age, the sex, as well as the breed of the animal that you want to pen fatten. But there are principles that you need to make sure that you adhere to, which are very important in feedlot management. 1, you need to make sure that the animals that you want to fatten or to put in a feedlot, first of all, you need to give them a supplement before that, probably 1.5 kgs or so, to just try and adapt them, so that before they go to the pen fattening into the feedlot, they are at least adapted. Secondly, you also need to make sure that you deworm them, trying to make sure that you destroy or you eliminate roundworms, liver flukes, or other internal parasites. They are eliminated. Then you move forward. You can actually also inject them with vitamins, multivitamin or vitamin A, to try and make sure that you improve digestibility and absorption of nutrients. You know the importance of that vitamin A in terms of membranes of the epithelial wall of the gastrointestinal tract. So you'd find out that's the third thing that you need to do. Then you need your animals to be adapted to a high energy diet. The high energy diet is made up of 70% grain, 20% roughage, and 10% protein source. So if you are going to make your pen fattening diet, you have to make sure that you use more grain. There's your maize, which accounts for 70%. Then 10% could be your soybean meal or other protein sources. Then your roughages comes in, covering the other 20% to make it 100%. Once you have got that diet, you need to make sure that you adapt your animals. How do you adapt them? You have to offer them small quantities, actually increasing. So for example, you start by giving your animals 25% of what is supposed to be eaten. Most of our animals, they take, at maximum, they would need around 10 kgs of that feed diet, fattening diet per day. So before you start giving them 10 kgs, you have your animal that have been feeding on high grasses, and its rumen is made up of roughage digesting bacteria, which requires a pH which is above 6.5. If you just change without gradually changing, you tend to increase acidic levels in the acidic condition in the rumen, which then kills those roughage digesting. But in doing so, you are going to cause those metabolic diseases that I once alluded to. So in order to avoid, to reduce those digestive and other upsets, you have to make sure that you start giving your animals probably 25% of what they require per day. So 25% of 10 kgs, it could be 2.5 kgs for the first 3 days. Then you move on probably to 4 kgs, 5 kgs for the next 4 days. That is probably up to day 9. From day 9, you are now giving your animals probably 7 to 8 kgs. From day 14, you are now giving your animals the full ration, which is about 10 kgs, or you feed them ad libitum to finish. So that way, you are likely to reduce those challenges that normally emanates from digestive and other stomach upsets. So the upsets that I once talked about, which we call metabolic challenges or metabolic diseases, I said there is rumen stasis, which you can also control by making sure that you give your animal 750 mils of 50 to 50-50 of vinegar and molasses. Then if the animal develop acidosis, then you can also give them 100 grams of milk of manganese and 50 grams of sodium bicarbonate. Then if the animal develops laminitis, then you have to make sure that you increase your roughage diet, probably to 30-35%. So that's trying to make sure that you control those challenges. Then I'll try to elaborate what we call acidosis. Acidosis develop when you give a highly fermentable energy diet, which quickly ferment to produce a lot of volatile fatty acids, which tends to affect the rumen pH. And by affecting the rumen pH, you are actually destroying the microbes that are important of the microflora that is important for degradation in the rumen. So it's like if you do that, you are like someone who have actually destroyed the cables of electricity for one's grinding mill. So it means if someone takes a bucket of maize to the grinding mill, you cannot actually come back with your meal because obviously the grinding machine will be down. So if you put a lot of high energy diet, it actually completely destroys the microbes that are important for digestion. And if that happens, definitely the animal will have the problem of rumen stasis. So that's how it emanates. That's how the pH also increases in the rumen and are causing acidosis. Then that's how also the animal end up having to suffer from laminitis. So you have to make sure that you introduce the feed gradually, like what we did with these animals. In terms of feed, you need to make sure that you provide a diet that will supply the nutrients that you require, that are required for maximizing growth and weight gain. So you would find out that there are so many types of feed that are manufactured by different reputable companies that we have in Zimbabwe. So in terms of that, definitely you'll find a lot of feeds that are available. But for farmers, they can actually fatten their animals using different methods. One, you can actually be able to harvest your maize who are growing their own maize with cobs, just we call snapcone. If you have got your snapcone, you can buy your cotton seed cake, then you mix with a bit of mineral and vitamin premix, molasses, and you can have, that becomes a pen fattening meal. For that, we can actually, we can always discuss in the event that one wants to use to go that route. Secondly, you can also have your maize and you buy your Mabiko K, especially from windmill. Then you mix with your diet, with your maize, and add a bit of molasses to reduce your maize, the quantity of maize, depending on the price that you are getting your molasses. If your molasses is cheaper, you can reduce the amount of maize by increasing molasses up to about 25 to 30%, depending on which ingredient is cheaper. Thirdly, you can also make your feed using forage legumes and your high energy, which could be maize, which could be sorghum. If you are using sorghum, definitely the value of sorghum tends to be 89% of maize. So it means you can temper around with your calculations and then be able to use them. But we are saying your sorghum, your millet, your bran that are coming from maize, all those things, they can actually be used in the production of your pen fattening meal. But what you need is, pen fattening is all about producing a high energy diet with about 13% crude protein content in it. Then you offer your animals. You can actually be able also to produce cheaper feeds that you can manufacture at the farm or mix at the farm to fatten or to prime up your other animals that are not going to be fit for pen fattening, like your steers and the cows. If you are culling your cows and you are culling, you also have got to steer your oxen that are old enough, more than 4 years old, then they may not be able to adapt well and also to give you your good returns if you pen fatten them. But you can pen fatten them with a cheaper feed, which you can make with like a poultry litter, mixing poultry litter, your maize, your sorghum, and your molasses. Then you come up with a diet that enables, that is cheaper in terms of price compared to the manufactured feeds that are of high quality. So you'd find out that your output or the price that you get, the profitability that you get is determined by the price of maize. So if you are producing your maize at on farm, then definitely you make more money by pen fattening. So you can actually do that a year. And pen fattening allows you to make sure that you can actually pick the best time of the year when you know that the prices of meat are likely to be that high, and you actually target those areas when you can actually fatten your animal and then fetch the best price when beef is not likely to be in short supply. So you'd find out that it's actually an art and a science to try and look at where do you want to fit in and where can you actually join in and do your pen fattening and provide. There are other methods that you can also use in pen fattening. One, you can fatten your animal from the veldt, from the rangelands. In the rangelands, you can allow your animals to graze and offer them about 3 kgs of the high energy diet and for 100 days. And that will improve the quality and the amount of meat that you can get, as well as the grades that you are likely to get. You can also try to make sure that you supplement your animals' summer fattening through grasses in the rangeland, in the forage, in providing high quality forages that are easily digestible or degradable to provide the nutrients that you want, and your animals can gain weight and be able to fetch better prices on the market. So those are some of the arts that you can actually be able to apply at farm level and make money out of cattle business. So if you want to fight poverty, one can actually be able to buy steers, buy cows, fatten them using poor, low quality diet, which you know for sure that they are going to improve the quality as well as the meat output. Secondly, we have got products from Delta, such as spent grain, which we call masese. If you have got masese, you can also mix them with some other protein sources and use them to fatten your animals, and you can actually get value for your money. Because, for example, a ton of masese can be bought at around $17–18, and if you are going to mix with other feed sources that you have on farm, with the help of nutritionists, we can then be able to come up with a diet which you can use anyway, anyhow, and be able to make money out of cattle business. So it's a business for the elderly, for the youth, for everyone, for women, men. So it's actually up to us to make money. So kurima mombe, kurima mari. There are a number of mistakes that are made by farmers in pen fattening. So the first one is in terms of choosing the right breed, the correct age, and the right sex. You know, you want to make sure that you have got an animal that responds to the diet that you are giving them. For example, the animals that we have here, they responded within 3 months. Currently they are not yet 3 months old in the pen, in the feedlot. They are about 2.5 months. But when they were 2 months old, they were already in a prime condition that could have allowed us to sell them off. It means we chose animals that had a high feed conversion ratio. So you would find out that if you have got an animal that quickly converts the nutrients that you are giving it to meat, then you can get an animal that can give you 1.5 kg of meat per day or weight per day if you are giving them the 10 kgs of feed or 8 kgs of feed per day. Within the 90 days, you can have an animal that gains around 130 kgs live weight mass. So if they get that much, if you are going to slaughter them and give you that much increase in terms of their body weight, then definitely you then have maximized your profit. But if you choose an animal that is too old, that is not going to respond to nutrients, then you are going to feed it and you end up with an animal that is going to consume a lot of feed, but without giving you the profit that you are actually looking for when you venture into pen fattening. So that's the most important thing. Choose the right breed, choose the correct sex, choose the right age. Too old animals, they are difficult to change. So you want an animal that converts feed into meat. That's what you need to have. The second common mistake that is made by farmers when they are pen fattening is failure to give an animal adequate time to adapt. there are a lot of biochemical and physical changes that happens in an animal when you give it a new diet that it has never eaten. Just like if you go to a restaurant or into a hotel and eat a lot of spices that you have never eaten, you are likely to have a running stomach. So your animals, if they are not adapted, they tend to have a big challenge in terms of responding. You end up using a lot of drugs, you end up actually requiring a vet doctor to come and be able to assist you to administer some of those mitigation measures that we once discussed in our adaptation phase. Failure to adapt will then give us a lot of challenges that we call digestive and other upsets that end up causing rumen stasis, acidosis, laminitis. Those are the challenges that we end up having. So you find out that you need to make sure that you acclimatize your animal, give them a feed that enables them to adapt. Don't give them a lot of feed at once, because once you do that, definitely they will have stomach upset. Lumbu rino kanukaka, kana kanuka pano papanetsa kuti saka inogara sei. Those are some of the most important things that you need to adhere to. The third common mistake that is normally made by farmers is giving too much space to your animals. You know, when animals are in a pen fattening pen, they need to be given less space to roam around and do a lot of other activities that end up utilizing the energy that we want to be deposited in the muscle, because we want the energy to prime the animal to gain weight, but instead they will end up doing a lot of activities that becomes an expense to the farmer. So it then means you are going to use more feed, because more feed is going to be utilized by the animal, but less is going to be deposited on its body, because the rest is going to be utilized through the other activities that the animal is going to be involved in. So make sure that your pen is small, you don't give a lot of room to roam around. Water is available, always available, around 50 liters per animal per day. So make sure that water is always available, the feed is always available. Don't give a lot of unnecessary roughages, because some they tend then to favor those roughages and eat a lot of roughages. That's actually compromising the rate of gain, because the roughage takes more time in the rumen to digest. So if they take more time, it means less nutrients being made available for bodybuilding, for increasing live weight gain on the animal. So make sure that your pen is small. The animals, they don't have a lot of space to run around, to roam around, fighting. You need to avoid those things. So animals that are shy feeders, feed them separately. Animals that are fighting, you need to make sure that you also separate them, so that they don't spend a lot of energy on unproductive activities. Because the more feed that the animal consumes and the less weight that they gain, it means you are losing in terms of money. So allow the animal to have a very small space, then they eat and sleep, then they put a lot of weight on their body. The fourth common mistake that is normally also done by farmers is failure to identify a lucrative market. You know, marketing, it's an art and a science as well. Get to know people that normally buy properly, or even try to get involved in the value chain. Kurima mombe, kurima.